All right. All mic levels are good. I think we should be fine for the recording. But I want to recap a trade that I took yesterday. As you can kind of see it was basically a little bit of a scalp. Um, just kind of want to get straight to the point for this one. I want to, make this video short. And there's two trades I want to recap. There's one trade that I took on the 1st of May, and then a second trade that I took on the 2nd of May, and then there's that's it. I didn't take any other trade. I didn't take any other trade than that. So as we're speaking and as we're going, I want to continue, just showing off the trades and everything that I took. But ideally, right? Let's take a look. This is the trade that I took. It was on the 2nd of May. Uh the 2nd of May where I took this trade, and it hit my take profit before it stopped me out, which was pretty good. But I kind of want to talk a little bit more in depth about the execution of the trade. Um, so for this trade, I didn't have a bias. I couldn't figure out the draw on liquidity, which was a bad thing. Ideally, when I can't figure out the draw on liquidity, where I think price is gonna go, I'm not gonna trade that day. So I didn't know where the draw on liquidity was, but the execution on this trade was pretty good. I got in around this, and I was in a little bit of a drawdown, but I only went 1.25 lots uh onto this trade. But we ended up, respecting this order block that we had right here, right, that we had formed right here. This because this is an OB right here, and we ended up tapping into where I wanted us to go, which was basically up here and into that fair value gap, because plus we also had equilibrium there. Um, I was I was not sure what I should have been targeting other than the equilibrium. So, because of that, I only took this little trade. This was the only setup that I saw, but ideally I wouldn't be taking this trade because I just couldn't figure out where the draw on liquidity was going. I didn't know if we were bearish or if we were bullish. So obviously you could see throughout this day that we were bearish and that ideally we kind of ended up reversing throughout the day. But I want to show you that this trade was good in terms of the execution, but bad in terms of the trade in itself and the idea of the trade. So this trade was bad because I couldn't figure out the around liquidity. This was a bad trade for me. The execution on this trade was absolutely perfect, though. It was absolutely perfect. And that's kind of a weird thing to think about, as like I'm kind of going off about this. It's a weird thing to think about. I've I believe oh sorry. I believe I was not entirely like realistically sure on where um the drawn liquidity was gonna go. Sorry about that too. I want to keep that the same as it is. I was not sure where the drawn liquidity was gonna go here, but the execution on this trade was correct. Then there's another trade that I do want to talk about as well, which is an FOMC trade. I actually have the live footage of it, but I have to mute that. I have to mute the audio for that live footage because I was uh I was going a little bit crazy. But what's it called? Ideally, I wouldn't really be taking trades like this because of the fact that I can't figure out where the drawn liquidity is, and because if I can't figure out where the drawn liquidity is, then I can't trade because I don't have a bias. But I didn't have a bias going into this day because I couldn't figure it out. So I just wanted to take a little short term move. And obviously, since I did take the little short term move like this one, I just targeted equilibrium and that was it. And plus this fair value gap right there. And that was it. I didn't target anything else. I didn't want to target anything else. And I was able to execute this trade out with precision. Only thing is, obviously, the idea of the trade in itself isn't enough, and it isn't good enough because of the fact that my bias was not present and my drawn liquidity was not clear either. So, right, if like this is ideally isn't a trade that I would have wanted to take, because looking at it in hindsight, you can see as we continue dropping down. So this trade would ideally not have worked out for me like that well if I was still in that trade and I was targeting higher. But ideally, with this being said, that's really all I got to say for it. There's nothing really much else to be said about this trade. There's nothing really else to go on about it. It's just that this trade was It was good in execution, bad in the idea of the trade. If you know what I'm saying. It was a bad idea to take this trade because of the idea, and I couldn't find the draw on liquidity. So in doing so, I took a bad trade, but I executed the bad trade with good execution, and I was able to get in precisely and everything. So that's something that I did want to journal and really, show. But what's it called? I want to really say that this trade is not good. Not good in terms of like me not being able to figure out my draw on liquidity, but this trade is good in execution. But that's it for this one. I also have to go to edit the FOMC trade as well. So with that being said, I will be right back. This video will be posted today, and the FOMC video will be posted today as well. So I'll be right back.